Hi guys, and welcome to this week's collective reading. I know we're a day late, but I don't pre-film these. I literally post the video right after I do the reading, and sometimes it just doesn't happen on a Sunday. Interestingly enough, yesterday morning or Sunday morning, I woke up from a dream that was giving me a message that something about how I do these readings or how I read cards needs to change. But I'm not sure what that change is yet. I think it's one of those things that I'll look back on at some point and understand. But in the dream, I was seeing myself shuffle and pull cards, and each card that went onto the table was weaving multiple webs that would connect to the next card and then the next. Like I was actually seeing all the grid lines. But at this point, I'm muckraking talking about it, as I don't fully understand what it means. But my point is, it's interesting that I woke up from this dream yesterday in my memory, and then I just couldn't make the time to do the reading yesterday as well. So maybe it wanted to be today, right? Maybe this like forced change is even out of this like rhythm. I am going to keep trying to do them on Sundays, though. That's besides the point. Or maybe I've just made all of that up. I haven't made up that story, but I mean, maybe I'm making up this excuse for myself to alleviate my own guilt of not getting the reading up yesterday. I don't know. But I've got 3 cards in front of me now, and they are speaking quite a bit. So let's dive in and give them a voice. So we are starting off with Lemurian Guide. And actually, I already feel like these are so tied together that I may need to talk about them together rather than one after the other and then letting them build like I normally do. Maybe that's actually what the dream was about. It kind of makes sense, but I'm not really sure and I don't want to get ahead of myself. But the reason I want to talk about these together is that the weaving of these cards feels quite prominent, like it's less about each individual card's message and more about what they are saying as this specific grouping or coding. So the first coding that jumps out at me is turquoise and gold, right? So the second card on the table is actually turquoise, right, as the stone, and then forget-me-not as the flower. And obviously this card is all turquoise and gold, right? And then the last card on the table is the Justice card. And we've got the gold of the sun, and then the turquoise waters rushing through and breaking this bond right here. And it's almost as if the sun's golden rays have severed this hold so that the waters can now run freely as they should. And then going back to the Lemurian Guide, I'm seeing the turquoise come through a bit more obviously, right, in the background of the card with the waters and the sky and these 2 realms of consciousness that we can connect with to learn about ourselves. But then most strongly, I'm actually seeing the turquoise coming through her eyes, right? And then tying it back to this card with the forget-me-not, it actually brings me to this story that I only know about from the guidebook for this deck, but it's a story that has stuck with me. And that is that forget-me-not, the flower, one of their names that they're known by is the Blue Eyes of Mary. And this comes from a story about baby Jesus and him wanting future generations to see Mary's eyes. So what he did was he touched her eyes, and then he created the flower or forget-me-nots to carry that resonance. And Blue Eyes of Mary, if you listen to me a lot, I know it becomes a bit of a broken record repeating things, but Mary is a title significant of a high priestess. So a Mary would be someone with the sight, right? A connection to their ethers. And the sight would be your inner sight, right? Like your third eye. So going back to the Lemurian guide, not as Mother Mary, but with this understanding of her as a Mary, right? Not M-A-R-Y, but M-E-R-I, Mary of the sea, right? So this is someone who has their inner sight developed, which is why she's got this stone over her third eye. And this has the flower of life etched into it. It's probably, I don't know how well it'll show up on camera. And it's kind of like lit up. So she's got the sight. She's got a connection to her inner world and outer world and how it's all connected. And then turquoise, the stone, right? In lore, it was seen as carrying the energy of both the earth and the sky. So as a unifying energy, turquoise is something made material that connects both worlds, right? And then this card reads at the bottom, cracking open, deep healing, and balancing karma. So then that ties straight into this depiction on the Justice card, right? As the energy of cracking open really jumps out of this card. And cracking open has to be brought up. This is the energy of this week that we are entering into with the spring equinox being Tuesday or Wednesday, right? Depending on where in the world you are. Literally, spring carries this imagery of an egg cracking open as life springs forth this time of year. But then this is a physical representation, the egg cracking open, for something that happens within us at a deeper level this time of year, right? So as we come out of the underworld, or I prefer to say that our inner world, as autumn and winter are the time of year we turn inwards and there's more reflection internally so that we can use that time to repair and heal. But now spring energy pushes us upwards, right? If you think of water springs or well springs, they burst out of the earth, right? From the deep underground, and it forces us to the surface. So this is the energy, right, of spring. We are being called back out of ourselves to connect with our solar forces, because the inner work is seen as connected to our lunar forces. And now we are being called to connect with the sun's energies, right? And the sun's energy is very much what you would think about when you think about spring. Like literally a spring, right? Springs shoot things forward. So it doesn't just get things moving, it propels you. So normally, the Justice card carries this message of being fair and just, right? This idea that our personal decisions and actions carry consequences. And the all-seeing eye comes into play with the Justice card. through this idea that justice is not blind to the truth, even to the extent that many cards in tarot for justice are depicted with justice wearing a blindfold, right? Because justice uses their third eye or inner eye to cut through the surface and see the truth of the matter. And this theme is being beautifully depicted on this card, and this connection to our inner eye and knowing who we are individually, right? That is the theme I really see coming through this reading as a whole. And that is this week's driving force in alignment with the spring equinox. It's us remembering who we are, developing our sense of self, our I. How can we be of service? In complete alignment with our internal values, right? We're just surfacing now. So we haven't yet forgotten all of this internal work that we've just done, right? So how about this year, as we spring forth, we hold on to the inner work, all of that internal work that we've done, so that as we connect to our solar forces and create more outwardly, as we manifest, let's keep our connection to our I. Don't lose sight of your internal values as you're propelled forward. So I do get this feeling that as a collective, that many of us are getting good, clear messages about who we are, what we want to be doing. And I know for those I get to speak with and connect with regularly, this is true, right? But there is still so much work to be done. And that's how spring's energy will help us, right? It brings in this driving force to get things done. But I want you to remember this reading through the season, right? That as you start doing more and the productiveness of spring takes over, as you connect to the solar force, don't forget who you are and what's important to you. So as new opportunities open to you, and as you structure whatever it is that you're manifesting, remember to connect inwards as well, right, to your inner sight, and make sure that your decisions are in alignment with what's most important to you. Don't get swept up into other people's perceptions or how you want to be perceived. Because at the end of it all, you are your own judge, right? With justice and the scales, for your heart to be of equal weight to a feather means that you carry no guilt. And we carry guilt when we do things out of alignment with our own sense of self. And when I say sense of self, this is our I, or our ego, but our ego as our highest self, because everything has polarity, and our ego is not bad. Our ego is about knowing ourselves and being in alignment with our values. And this bond here that's being broken, this is us breaking free from the external pressures that falsely tell us who we should be. That's why the waters are flowing now and the sun is shining down on us, because we are remembering who we are, right? Forget-me-nots are all about this persistence of memory. And you can use this flower to connect with all these parts of yourself that have been buried with time. So you can use forget-me-nots along with turquoise, right, to bring these parts of yourself back to the surface. And going back to Lemurian Guide, this is the time period we got our physical form, right? So this is when the density of earthly life would have started to be felt. So when I say you can use forget-me-nots and turquoise to bring lost parts of yourself to the surface, I'm talking about parts of yourself lost within this life through trauma, as well as in past life soul retrieval, right? And this is very different from deep reflective inner work that we do in the winter, because in surfacing, it's able to get a breath of fresh air and then be cleansed by the sun's rays. This is taking the heaviness and then breathing into it so that that heaviness can turn to relief. This is more like, it's like letting skeletons out of the closet, right? This is like feeling free, right? This is the breaking of the bonds that held you prisoner so that you can connect with yourself, your I, your ego, your higher self, your highest self, so you can connect with your I and align with the sun. This is being in service in a way that aligns your personal values with that of the needs of others. This is finding your niche. So I really hope that makes sense, as that is this week's reading. I'm not sure how this web thing will go. I honestly do feel like this was a bit discombobulated, but I also think it will just grow and evolve as it needs to. I'm just preparing to crack through the surface myself as well. So yeah, I'm right here with all of you. But this will hopefully help you understand the energy that is around you right now, why you are feeling the way you are right now, and then what are the best decisions you can make for yourself at this time based on this understanding of the energy, right? So with that, I'm going to wish you all the best so I can get this edited and uploaded. All right? Bye, guys.